Hi everybody, welcome to this video introduction to 12 Angry Men, the 1957 film directed by Sidney Lumet that will be the film we discuss this Monday for our weekly Film Studies online discussion. You can register for this discussion right here on our website in the Film Studies online section of brynmarfilm.org. This movie is interesting for a few reasons. One of which is it is the debut film of Sidney Lumet, an exceptional filmmaker that a lot of people don't know very much about. He was very prolific. He made 45 feature films in a 50-year feature film career. He is also a very much a New York City filmmaker. A lot of people think of Martin Scorsese or Spike Lee or Woody Allen when they think of New York City filmmakers, and they certainly are. But compared to Lumet, they're kind of, only sort of New York filmmakers. Lumet has so many movies set in the city and about so many different aspects of the city. When you hear the movies that he is best known for, really the sort of classics of his long career, movies like Prince of the City and Serpico and Dog Day Afternoon and Network and The Pawnbroker and his debut film, 12 Angry Men, you can see that he really has the sort of city on his mind. And there are a host of other films set in the city and about aspects of New York that are very good as well. But those are the handful of classics for which he's best known. Lumet actually came from a performing family. He was born in Philadelphia, and at the age of 2, his family moved to the Lower East Side of New York, where his parents thrived in the Yiddish theater. And actually, Lumet began performing in the Yiddish theater and on radio as a child. And he had a career as a child performer all the way through his teen years until he enlisted in the military at the age of 17 to fight in World War II, where he was in Burma and China and India from 1942 to 1946. When he got back, he returned to entertainment. He performed on Broadway, and he quickly got a job working for CBS television. He was hired in 1950 as an assistant to his friend Yul Brynner, who at that point in his career was directing live television episodes, which is what Lumet would be doing by 1951. And between 1951 and 1957, he directed hundreds of episodes of live television, many of the well-known dramas of the time, and including as well some of the sort of Playhouse 90 and omnibus prestige programs that were big during that time as well. And it's actually thanks to one of those prestige programs that Lumet began his motion picture career. Marty, which was a tremendously successful 1955 film starring Ernest Borgnine, began as Paddy Chayefsky's teleplay in 1953. And when people saw the success of bringing that play from the small screen to the big one, they looked for other properties to do that with. And certainly Reginald Rose's 12 Angry Men fits the bill. Interestingly, it was Henry Fonda who was the driving force behind bringing 12 Angry Men to the big screen. He'd seen the performance. Fonda was known throughout his career for being a sort of, socially minded actor. He was one of the earlier actors to sort of have that reputation in Hollywood. And the story of the justice system and how its strengths and its weaknesses and how it works and the risks of it failing and the challenges of the jury system was something that appealed to Fonda. And so he and Reginald Rose, the writer of the play, sort of teamed up to produce the film. Fonda actually handpicked Lumet to direct it. And as I said, it was the first feature Lumet would direct. Fonda saw him teaching an acting class and really liked the way that Lumet worked with the actors, and thought that he would be a good director and be able to get great performances, which this film really sort of relies upon and does ultimately achieve. It probably didn't hurt Lumet's chances at getting the job that he had so much experience in live television, where obviously you have to work quickly, you have limited space and budget, and schedule's very important. And so that being said, I can imagine that the 17 days of shooting and $350,000 budget for this film must have seemed somewhat luxurious to Lumet, although I'm sure the challenges of feature filmmaking, which were probably not helped by working with first-time film producers, caused him some agita, as they say. He did have someone in his corner, though, and that is cinematographer Boris Kaufman, best known for his work on the waterfront. He was an exceptional cinematographer, one of the top cinematographers, certainly in black and white, of the 1950s and beyond. And after 12 Angry Men, he and Lumet would go on to work on 6 more movies, including most notably 1964's The Pawnbroker, which is another stunning New York set film, recognized rightfully for its cinematography. They plotted out each of the more than 300 shots for the film before they even began the 2 weeks of rehearsals, and certainly before they began the 17-day shoot. They wanted to come up with a visual plan to make what is basically a film set in one room about a dozen people arguing. They wanted to try to make it more dynamic and make it more visually interesting. And so they came up with a couple of interesting choices. One is the way they sort of limited their use of lenses. Or I shouldn't say limited, but I should say sort of controlled their use of lenses. Some people might have been tempted to use a wide-angle lens to make the jury room seem bigger. Lumet and Kaufman went the other way. The only wide-angle lens shot that appears in the film is one of the last shots, sort of as a coda to the movie, which allows, as Lumet says, the audience to finally breathe. Other than that, actually over the course of the movie, the lenses get shifted to have the background, the focal length increases to get the background to sort of kind of seem to be coming in on the actors. And the other way that Lumet sort of worked to, and Kaufman I should say, worked to create a sense of claustrophobia and rising tension as the film went on, is they were very disciplined about their camera placement. They shot pretty much the first third of the film from above eye level, kind of looking down on the characters, giving the audience a sense perhaps that they knew them, that they could judge them, that they really very easily fell into sort of the categories they appeared to fall into. The middle portion of the film is pretty much at eye level, as sort of divisions start to become clear, and there's kind of a pretty steady back and forth, and it's unclear which view is going to carry the day, and things are still largely uncertain. The final third of the film has the camera almost entirely situated below eye level, looking up. And this accomplishes 2 things. One, as the personalities have gotten stronger, as the tensions have risen, and as certain personal and potent issues have come to the fore, the characters seem larger and more imposing from the low angle. The other thing that does is it allows the ceiling to be visible in a number of shots, which sort of encourages that sense of claustrophobia. But all of those thoughtful cinematographic tricks wouldn't really matter much if this film didn't have, one, Rose's great screenplay, but 2, some tremendous performances, not just from Henry Fonda or his foil, Lee J. Cobb, but from a stunning supporting cast that includes Jack Warden and Jack Klugman in early roles, and a host of other actors I'm sure will look familiar to you, and you'll get to sort of meet them all at the end of the film. The movie was very well received by critics, both in the US and abroad. And it did okay at the box office, but it wasn't a huge financial success. It certainly didn't have the audience appeal when it was released that it would come to have years later, and that it seems to still have today. The movie was nominated for 3 Oscars. It lost them all to Bridge on the River Kwai, which had a very big year. It was nominated for Picture, Director, and Adapted Screenplay, and Kwai won them all. But it did win the top prize at the Berlin Film Festival that year. So that's a pretty good consolation, I think, particularly for such a small film that, frankly, United Artists didn't have a lot of hope for internationally because it seemed to be about something so specifically American. In some sense it is, of course, but the universality of the themes of fairness and justice and, judging people by what they do and the merits of a situation and not preconceived notions or stereotypes, obviously is a story that is widely applicable and perhaps even today has some more potent relevance than it might have a couple of years ago. So I am sure that you will enjoy 12 Angry Men, and I look forward to discussing it with you on Monday at 6:30. Talk to you then.